Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the second video on mummies and the afterlife. I'm pretty excited about this next video because the last one was kind of talking about the wrappings and stuff, and this one is about the jewelry that they would wear, and that's why I kind of wore my jewelry today, because I wanted to pay homage to the Egyptians and their way of life, and I think I was Egyptian in many past lives. I just have an affinity for I'm talking about the older dynasties. I just have an affinity for them. So what I thought I would do is break it up in two. So last one was on the wrappings, and this one is on the amulets and the jewelry and the ornaments. So I think you guys might really enjoy this one, and then we'll see. I hope so. An amulet can best be described as a charm often inscribed with a spell, magic, incantation, or symbol, and believed to protect the wearer against evil or to provide aid and magical benefits. Several would be placed on a corpse and scattered amongst the wrappings in an effort to keep the body intact and ensure a safe passage to the existence in the afterlife. Tutankhamun had over 140 amulets scattered throughout his wrappings. But on a sad note, it's ironic that these protective amulets were primarily responsible for the destruction of the bodies that they were supposed to protect. It was the robber's quest for the heart scarab, generally a large, finely carved scarab of a dark stone, that was responsible for the holes in the chest of many mummies. Often an entire mummy would be stripped or burnt in effort to divest it of its amulets. And so what I did is, I believe I wanted to show you kind of what they would look like. And I think they're called a faience. The faience was something that was made out of stone, or it was molded, and these were put in, and they all had their purpose. And they were found within the mummies. So this is kind of what they look like. So all these amulets were put in, and the amulets can be almost anything. And it just depended on what dynasty that we are talking about. The funerary amulets continued to be important throughout Egyptian history. The power of an amulet was transmitted not only by its shape, but also by its material and color, all in which helped endow the wearer with power, protection, and special capabilities. The use of the correct material guaranteed magical benefits. Green and blue stones signified resurrection and rebirth. Hematite meant strength and support. Cornelian, jasper, and red glass or faience were used for any amulet that symbolized blood, energy, strength, and power. The type of material utilized depended on the individual's wealth. And the different examples of amulets are Eye of Horus, scarabs, the Ankh, bee amulet, leopard, lion, and jackal heads. So, I mean, it could be anything. Anything that they thought that would protect the mummy here and in the afterlife, they would put in with the body. Most amulets were placed on the neck and chest, with specific ones such as the head rest under the neck, and a wadjet amulet on the embalming wound. Some mummies, such as Sethos II, had a string of amulets wound spirally around the legs from ankle to knee. In the third intermediate and late periods, amulets proliferated. They appeared in the shape of the goddess Mat and her feather of truth. Nefer amulets, signifying good or beautiful, became common. Snake amulets were to save the mummy from snake bite in the netherworld, which were placed on the mummy's throat. Amulets in the shape of deities also became the norm from the 26th dynasty onwards. Nephthys, Amun, Thoth, Horus, and other gods frequently figured as part of the funerary paraphernalia as on the mummy. Interestingly enough, Osiris amulets are quite rare. Osiris, god of the dead, only appeared in amuletic form in the late period. Isis amulets are known from the New Kingdom onward. These generally appeared as a pair on the upper chest, with Isis by herself and also suckling horse. And also the suckling horse. Another piece of mummy decoration that began to appear in the 22nd dynasty were bead net dresses that were made of long faience beads threaded into a lozenge pattern with faience amulets in the shape of winged scarabs and four sons of Horus incorporated into the decoration. And the design of the lozenge, which is like throat lozenge, but it's actually defines a shape which is diamond-like. So it would be threaded into diamond-like shapes. They were especially popular in the 25th and 26th dynasties and later. So they also had hand and feet covers. Objects for high-status mummies included finger and toe stalls, often made of gold, that were placed on the bandaged fingers and toes of wealthy individuals. The stalls helped to keep the extremities from breaking off and being lost. Examples come from the burial of Tutankhamun, which I actually did see when I was in Egypt. I thought that was very interesting. And from the royal necropolis of Tanis. They also dressed in clothing of precious metals. Tut and Soshenk II wore sandals of solid gold. Tiny silver gloves were also found in KV 56 and seem to once to have been protecting the hands of an infant princess. So they decorated all over the body. Burial jewelry is distinguished from real jewelry by its flimsy construction, for example, being stamped from thin sheets of gold, and its partially amuletic function. So I didn't know this, but because if you look at King Tut's burial, you know, it was just beautiful, all the gold. But what they're saying is that it's just very thin gold. And it's not like the jewelry they would wear every day, like my necklace here, which you would have to have some strength to how it's put together. But if you're putting it on somebody who's already passed on, it doesn't have to be so strong. I mean, it just can be just more symbolic than anything. The most common types of such ornaments are collars of hammered and incised or stamped gold in the shape of protective vulture goddesses or serpents. Gold bands for wrists and ankles were also produced. Good jewelry comes from the tomb of Tutankhamun. These were placed on the mummy where real jewelry would have been worn, but were significantly cheaper and provided an economical alternative for the deceased and his family. Real jewelry was actually worn during the lifetime of the deceased and is solidly made and elaborate using different technologies and materials of the day. It includes earrings, diadems, a variety of neck ornaments, amulets, bracelets, and rings. So the one thing that I found very interesting, and I actually have two, is the canopic jars, because it's something that they were these jars where the organs were placed in during mummification. So the canopic jars are made to contain the organs that were removed from the body in the process of mummification. The body parts were the lungs, liver, intestines, and stomach. Each organ was protected by one of the four sons of Horus. Hapi was with the lungs, Seti, the liver, Duamatef, stomach, and Qobeseneth, intestines. They are placed in canopic chests made of stone or rock cutouts. So I have two. Now, I don't know which ones these represent, but I just found these years ago, and as you can see, there's nothing in there, but I just thought they were really cool. And so I think that the only thing they just didn't consider was the brain. And we all know what happened to the brain. They would just kind of swirl it up inside and pull it out through the nose. But here's another one of the canopic jars that I thought was really interesting. And I just really like these. I like anything that has to do with Egypt. So that kind of ends kind of what I wanted to just give you, that little bit of information on mummification. It isn't about reanimating mummies that have wrappings to terrorize humanity, even though it makes for a good movie. And I have watched a few, I have to admit. The mummification really was a celebration of the afterlife and also the person's life that they had lived. And I think I really like that. And I think the message, I guess, for these two videos is really to understand that it's really not so much just keeping ourselves young and youthful in this life. It's understanding that the process of life is aging, and there's nothing wrong with that. And not to be afraid of death. Embrace it, understand it, and as the Egyptians did, they prepared for it. And I'm not saying that live your whole lives thinking about death, but they prepared for it their whole lives, and they just have this idea that, yeah, there's nothing wrong in preparing for something that you know is inevitable and something that they actually look forward to. So, I hope you enjoyed this. A little different anyways. I hope you are all doing well this new year. And who knows what's going to be the next video. But I enjoy doing these for you. And if you like them and enjoy them, let Michael and I know. If you have any comments, let me know. If you like different things on Egypt, comment in. I always like finding a fellow Egypt fan. And if you have any suggestions for anything down the line, let's talk about it. Let's do it. So take care. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next video, depending on what that is. I have no idea. So take care, and I'll talk to you soon, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.